Listen to me carefully. Right now, while you're watching this, there's a prayer sitting in heaven's archive that's been waiting for you to claim it for months, maybe years. Not because God didn't hear you, not because your request was too small or too big, not because you lack faith or haven't suffered enough to deserve an answer. The prayer is sitting there because you haven't built the foundation strong enough to carry the weight of what you asked for. You've been crying out for financial breakthrough, for the contract that changes everything, for the door that finally opens, for the debt to disappear, for the business to turn around. And heaven has been saying yes the entire time, but you're not ready to receive it. Let me say that again so it lands. The problem is not that God is withholding. The problem is that you cannot hold what God is trying to give you. You know what happens when you pour water into a container with cracks. It doesn't matter how pure the water is. It doesn't matter how much is being poured. The container cannot hold it. That's where you are right now, and if you don't understand this, you're going to spend another year praying the same prayers, feeling the same frustration, wondering why everyone else seems to be receiving while you're still waiting. If you need a financial miracle right now, if you've been praying and it feels like heaven went silent on you, do me a favor. Type your specific need in the comments. Just one sentence. I need provision for Nensuranda. Let's get it on record, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand why that prayer hasn't manifested yet, and more importantly, what to do about it starting today. Now, before we go deeper, if this kind of teaching is helping you see things you've never seen before, do yourself a favor and subscribe to this channel. We're building something here, a community of people who are done with surface-level spirituality and ready for the real mechanics of how heaven operates. Don't just watch and disappear, be part of this, hit subscribe. Let me tell you where I learned this. I was sitting in my office 3 years ago, bills stacked on my desk, phone notifications from the bank, emails I couldn't answer because I didn't have the money to fulfill the commitments I'd already made, and I was praying, hard, the kind of prayer where your voice cracks and you're bargaining with God like your life depends on it, because it does. God, I need money. I need it now. I've been faithful, I've been generous, I've served. Why is the door still closed? Nothing. Silence. Not the peaceful kind of silence. The terrifying kind. The kind that makes you wonder if God has abandoned you. If you did something so wrong that you're being punished. If maybe, just maybe, you're not one of the chosen ones who gets to experience provision. You know that feeling? Where you scroll through social media and see people who don't even pray posting about their wins. New cars. New houses. New opportunities. And you're over here fasting, praying, believing, and getting nothing but exhaustion. It makes you angry. Then it makes you numb. Then it makes you want to quit. I was there. And then a rabbi I respect looked me in the eyes and said something that shattered everything I thought I knew about prayer. He said, "You're praying like a beggar, but God doesn't respond to beggars. He responds to builders." I didn't understand. So he explained. He said, "There's a law in heaven that most people never learn. It's not emotional, it's not mystical, it's physics, spiritual physics. And if you violate it, you will never receive what you're asking for, no matter how loud you pray. The law is this: heaven only releases what you have the capacity to contain, not what you deserve, not what you need, not what you've earned through suffering or service, what you can hold." He said, "Imagine I want to give you $1 million. I'm standing right in front of you with a check, but your hands are cupped together and full of holes. What happens to the money? It falls through, not because I didn't want to give it, not because you didn't need it, not because the money wasn't real, because you couldn't hold it. That's what's happening to you right now. Your prayers are reaching heaven. God is saying yes, the blessing is being released, but your internal container, your spiritual infrastructure, the foundation of your soul, cannot support the weight of the answer. So heaven waits, not to punish you, to protect you, because if God gave you what you're asking for right now in your current state, it would destroy you. Think about it. If someone handed an 18-year-old kid the keys to a supercar with 700 horsepower, what happens? He wraps it around a tree in 3 weeks, not because the car was bad, because he wasn't ready to handle that much power. Heaven operates the same way. You're asking for financial overflow, but you panic every time an unexpected bill shows up. You're asking for business success, but you can't manage the clients you already have. You're asking for increase, but you haven't learned discipline with what you currently hold. God looks at that and says, "I love you too much to give you something that will crush you." So the answer sits in heaven's vault, waiting for you to grow into someone who can carry it without breaking. Now here's the part that will either offend you or set you free. The reason you can't hold the blessing is because of you, not the enemy, not the economy, not bad timing, not lack of favor. You, your internal wiring, your beliefs about money, your relationship with discipline, your capacity to remain steady under pressure, your ability to give when it doesn't make sense, your willingness to act when you don't feel ready. That's what creates the container. And right now your container has cracks, big ones. Every time you doubt, that's a crack. Every time you hoard out of fear, that's a crack. Every time you refuse to take the small action because you're waiting for the big miracle, that's a crack. And heaven is watching, saying, I can't fill that yet. It'll all leak out. Wait until they seal the foundation. You don't like hearing that. I didn't either. Because we've been taught that faith is passive. That prayer is about convincing God to move. That breakthrough is about waiting long enough until heaven feels sorry for us. That's not how it works. Faith is construction. Prayer is alignment. Breakthrough is the natural result of a container that's finally strong enough to hold what's been waiting. Let me show you what I mean. There's a story I heard from an old teacher, not from Hollywood, from the ancient texts, about a man who understood this law better than anyone. He was already wealthy, had everything, but he made a public commitment that put his entire fortune at risk. He promised to provide water for thousands of people during a drought, except he didn't own a water source. He had to borrow massive reservoirs from a supplier and promised to return them filled within 30 days, or he'd lose everything. 30 days passed. No rain. The reservoirs were empty. The deadline was today. His reputation, his wealth, his family's future, all about to collapse. So he prayed. First prayer. God, don't let me be humiliated. Don't let your name be disrespected, because I trusted you and failed. Nothing happened. Hours passed. Panic set in. Everything he built was about to vanish. So he prayed again, but this time different. Second prayer. God, they don't need this water because of me. They need it to live. Let this rain come so that thousands of families can survive. Let me be the channel, not the hero. The sky exploded. Rain so heavy it didn't just fill the reservoirs, it overflowed them. What changed? His prayer? No, his heart. In the first prayer, he was trying to protect his container, his image, his reputation. Small focus, small container. In the second prayer, he expanded. He became a pipeline for others. He stopped asking for personal rescue and started asking to be a conduit of blessing for the masses. The moment his container expanded, heaven released what had been waiting the entire time. You see the pattern? God doesn't respond to the size of your need. He responds to the size of your capacity. And your capacity is determined by how much you're willing to become a channel, not a vault. Most people pray like this. God, give me money so I can finally be stable, so I can pay my bills, so I can stop worrying, so I can feel secure. That's a closed container. It's all flowing toward you. There's no outlet. So heaven says, if I fill that, it'll just sit there and rot. Or worse, it'll make you selfish and destroy you from the inside. But when you pray like this, God, give me resources so I can be a blessing to my family, my community, the people you've called me to serve. Let me be the one who provides jobs, who pays for someone's medical bill, who funds the dream that someone else gave up on. That's an open container. It has flow, intake, and output. Heaven looks at that and says, now we can work. Now I can pour. So let me ask you, what's your container look like right now? Are you praying to hoard or to flow? Drop a comment. Tell me the truth. I've been praying to hoard, or I'm ready to become a channel. Let's get honest. Here's what I need you to understand. There are 3 actions that expand your container. 3 daily practices that crack open your capacity so heaven can finally pour. Not theories, not concepts, actions. Most people will hear this and do nothing. They'll nod, agree, feel inspired, and go back to the same prayers that haven't worked for years. Don't be most people. These 3 actions are not complicated. A 10-year-old could do them, but they require something most people refuse to give: consistency and trust. If you commit to these 3 things every single day for the next 30 days, your financial reality will shift. Not because you're manipulating God, because you're finally aligning with how heaven operates. Here are the 3 pillars that expand your container. Pillar 1, Active certainty. Not hope, not wishing, not fingers-crossed faith that maybe, possibly, if you're lucky, things might work out. Certainty. The kind that doesn't waver when the bank account says zero. The kind that doesn't panic when the deadline is tomorrow and the money isn't here yet. The kind that stands firm even when every logical voice in your head is screaming that you're about to lose everything. Most people confuse faith with hope. They say, I have faith, but what they really mean is, I hope God comes through this time. Hope is weak. Hope is passive. Hope sits in the corner praying that maybe the universe will be kind today. Certainty is different. Certainty says, the provision is already released. I just haven't seen it in the physical yet. But it's done. It's mine. Not because I deserve it, because the one who promised is faithful. That's not arrogance, that's alignment. And here's the protocol. Every single morning, before you check your phone, before you look at your bank account, before you let the world tell you what's real, you speak a declaration of certainty out loud. Not in your head. Out loud. You look yourself in the mirror and you say, I am certain that my provider is faithful. I am certain that what I need is already on the way. I am certain that I will not lack. You don't say it because you feel it. You say it to build the foundation that allows you to feel it later. This is not positive thinking. This is spiritual engineering. Every declaration is a brick in the foundation. Every morning you reinforce the structure. And over time your internal container becomes unshakable, because here's what happens when you operate in certainty instead of hope. You stop begging. You stop panicking. You stop making desperate decisions out of fear. You start moving like someone who knows the check is already written. You just haven't received it in the mail yet. That posture, that energy, that unshakable confidence, that's what heaven responds to. Not because God needs you to perform, because certainty creates a container strong enough to hold the answer without cracking under pressure. Pillar 2. Generosity first. Not generosity after you get the breakthrough. Not generosity when it's comfortable. Not generosity with your leftovers. Generosity first. This is where most people fail because logic says, how can I give when I don't have enough? That's irresponsible, that's foolish, that's financial suicide. And I'm telling you, that logic is the very thing keeping you broke. Here's the law. You cannot receive what you're not willing to release. If you hoard, you signal to heaven that you're a closed system, that whatever comes in will get trapped and stagnate. So heaven withholds, not to punish you, but because pouring into a closed container creates pressure that eventually explodes. But when you give first, when you release before it makes sense, when you open your hand even when your account is gasping for air, you signal to heaven, I am a channel. I trust the source. I know that what flows through me is unlimited. And heaven responds to that. Not because you manipulated God with a transaction, because you finally became the kind of container that can handle flow without choking. Here's the protocol. Every single time money comes into your hand, before you pay the bills, before you buy groceries, before you do anything else, you set aside a portion and you give it away. 10% is the standard. If you can't do 10, do 5. If you can't do 5, do 2. But you do it first, not last. And here's the part that will test you. You give it even when it terrifies you, even when the math doesn't add up, even when every financial advisor would call you insane. Because this is not about math. This is about breaking the spirit of hoarding that's been shrinking your container for years. I'll tell you what happened to me. 2 years ago, I was in the worst financial position of my life. I had a payment due in 72 hours that I could not cover. The number was massive. I had maybe 15% of it in the bank. I was paralyzed, couldn't sleep, couldn't think, just staring at the ceiling, wondering how I was going to survive the humiliation of defaulting. Then I got a random payment from an old client. Not nearly enough to solve the problem, maybe 8% of what I needed, but it was something. And the moment that money hit my account, I felt this pull, not audible, just a knowing. Give half of it away. Right now. I laughed, out loud, alone in my office, laughing like a crazy person, because the idea was absurd. I needed every dollar. I was drowning, and the instruction was to give away half of the only lifeline I had. But I did it, hands shaking, heart pounding, feeling like an idiot. I sent half of that payment to a family I knew was struggling even worse than me. Within 36 hours, I received 3 payments I wasn't expecting, from sources I'd written off months ago, people who owed me money that I assumed I'd never see. The total, exactly, to the dollar, what I needed for the deadline, plus a little extra. Coincidence? Maybe. But I've tested this enough times now to know it's not. Generosity first cracks open your container. It signals to heaven that you're ready to hold more, because you're willing to release what you have. Pillar 3. Small action daily. Not the big move, not the perfect plan. Not waiting until you have all the resources and all the clarity and all the confidence. One small action, every single day, toward the thing you're praying for. Most people pray for breakthrough and then sit on the couch waiting for heaven to drop it in their lap. They want the contract to fall out of the sky, the client to call out of nowhere, the opportunity to knock on their door while they're binge-watching Netflix. That's not how it works. Faith without action is a container with no foundation. It collapses the moment pressure is applied. But faith with action, even tiny action, builds structural integrity. Here's the protocol. Every day you take one action, no matter how small, that moves you 0.1% closer to the thing you're praying for. You need a new job? Send one application, one email, make one phone call. Not 10, not 100, one. But you do it. Every single day without fail. You need clients? Reach out to one potential lead, post one piece of content, have one conversation, just one, but daily. No excuses. You need a financial breakthrough? Learn one new skill. Read one chapter of a book on money. Take one step toward the business idea you've been sitting on for 3 years. The action doesn't have to be big. It has to be consistent. Because here's what happens. Every small action is a signal to heaven that you're serious, that you're not just a talker, that you're willing to partner with the process, not just demand the result. And heaven responds to partnership. God doesn't do the whole thing for you. He meets you in the middle. You move, he moves. You act, he multiplies. You step, he opens the door. But if you don't step, there's nothing to multiply. I know someone who was praying for a business breakthrough for 2 years. Nothing. Silence, frustration. Then he started taking one small action every day. Some days it was just 15 minutes of research. Some days it was reaching out to one person. Some days it was watching one tutorial on a skill he needed. 60 days in, he got a call from someone he'd reached out to on day 12. They wanted to partner with him. The deal was 7 times bigger than anything he'd prayed for. What changed? Not the prayer, the posture. He stopped being a beggar waiting for a handout. He became a builder, constructing the foundation for what he was asking for. Let me bring this together. Active certainty builds the walls of your container. Generosity first clears the blockages so blessing can flow. Small daily action proves you're ready to handle what's coming. All 3 together, you become unstoppable. Not because you're manipulating heaven, because you're finally operating in alignment with how heaven works. Now here's the enemy you need to know about. There's a voice inside you that will fight every single one of these pillars. It will sound logical, reasonable, protective. It will say, don't give when you're this broke, that's irresponsible. It will say, don't declare certainty when the evidence says you're failing. That's delusional. It will say, don't take action today. Wait until you have more clarity, more resources, more time. That voice is not wisdom. That's the voice of self-sabotage. The internal force that keeps you small, keeps you safe, keeps you stuck. And if you listen to it, you will never expand your container. You have to recognize that voice, name it, and refuse to obey it. Every time it whispers fear, you counter with certainty. Every time it whispers hoarding, you counter with generosity. Every time it whispers paralysis, you counter with action. This is war, and the battlefield is your mind. If you're hearing that voice of fear right now trying to talk you out of these 3 pillars, type "I hear it" in the comments. Let's acknowledge the enemy so we can beat it together. And if this teaching is opening your eyes, hit that subscribe button. You need to be part of this community. We're building something powerful here. Let me tell you one more story before we move to the final part. There's an account in the ancient writings about a man named Joseph, sold into slavery by his own brothers, thrown into prison for a crime he didn't commit, forgotten by everyone. He's rotting in a dungeon. No trial, no hope, no timeline for release. Most people in that position would pray like this: God, get me out. I'm innocent. I don't deserve this. Rescue me now. That's a small container. Save me. Fix my situation. Make my life comfortable. But Joseph didn't pray that way. While he was still in prison, before anyone came to rescue him, he started serving. He interpreted dreams for other prisoners. He helped them. He became a source of hope in a place of despair. He expanded his container in the worst possible circumstances. And when the opportunity finally came, when Pharaoh needed someone to interpret a dream, Joseph wasn't just ready. He was operating at a level that made him the only choice. He went from prisoner to prime minister in 24 hours. Not because he prayed harder, because his container was already expanded to hold the weight of a kingdom. You see it? He didn't wait until he was free to start acting like a leader. He acted like a leader while he was still locked up. And the moment heaven saw that his container was strong enough, the door flew open. That's the principle. You don't get the breakthrough and then expand. You expand and then the breakthrough comes. You don't receive the blessing and then become generous. You become generous and then the blessing flows. You don't wait for certainty to feel natural. You practice certainty until it becomes your foundation. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Start building in the rubble. So here's what you do. Starting today, not tomorrow, not next week when things calm down, not when you feel more ready. Today, you wake up. Tomorrow morning, and before your feet hit the floor, before you reach for your phone, before the weight of your problems floods back into your mind, you speak out loud. You say, I am certain that my provider sees me. I am certain that what I need is already prepared. I am certain that I will not be abandoned. You say it even if your voice shakes, even if you don't believe it yet, even if the bills on your desk are screaming the opposite. You say it because you're building a foundation, and foundations are built one brick at a time, whether you feel like it or not. Then you go about your day, and the moment money touches your hand, any money, you take a portion and you release it. You give it to someone who needs it more than you. You sow it into something that matters. Not your leftovers, not after you've handled everything else. First, I don't care if it's $2, I don't care if it's 10% of $20, you give it first. Because that act of releasing when it makes no logical sense is the crack that breaks open your container. It's the signal to heaven that you trust the source more than you trust your bank account. And then, before the day ends, you take one action. One small, unglamorous, maybe even boring action toward the thing you've been praying for. You make one phone call. You send one message. You research one opportunity. You learn one new thing. You take one step, not a giant leap, not a dramatic move that makes a good story, just one foot in front of the other. And you do this every single day for the next 30 days without negotiating with yourself. No excuses, no, I'm too tired today, no, I'll do 2 tomorrow to make up for it. One declaration, one act of generosity, one step forward, every day, non-negotiable. That's the protocol. Simple? Yes. Easy? Absolutely not. Because the voice of fear will fight you every single morning. It will tell you you're being foolish. It will remind you of every reason this won't work. It will offer you very reasonable explanations for why today should be the exception. And you have to tell that voice no. You have to stand in front of the mirror, even when you feel ridiculous, and declare certainty anyway. You have to release the money, even when your hands are trembling and your mind is calculating how this makes your situation worse. You have to take the action, even when you're exhausted and discouraged and starting to believe nothing will ever change. This is the cost. This is what separates people who stay stuck from people who break through. Not intelligence, not connections, not luck. Willingness to do the uncomfortable thing every single day until the container is strong enough to hold what's been waiting. Let me tell you what's going to happen. The first week you're going to feel nothing, maybe even worse than nothing. The declaration will feel like you're lying to yourself. The generosity will feel like self-destruction. The action will feel pointless. Your circumstances won't change. The bank account will still be the same. The pressure will still be there. And that's when most people quit. They say, see, I knew this wouldn't work. I tried it for 5 days and nothing happened. But you're not most people. You're going to push through week 1 knowing that you're not doing this for immediate results. You're doing this to build a foundation that can hold the weight of the answer when it comes. Week 2, something small will shift. Not the big breakthrough, just a small sign, a door that cracks open, a conversation that leads somewhere, a payment you weren't expecting. Nothing dramatic, but enough to remind you that something is moving. Week 3, you'll start to notice that the fear is quieter. The panic doesn't hit as hard. The certainty you've been declaring is starting to feel less like a performance and more like truth. And by week 4, you'll look back and realize You're not the same person who started this 30 days ago. Your container is bigger, stronger, more stable, and that's when heaven can finally release what's been waiting. I'm not promising you a lottery ticket. I'm not promising you a miracle that falls out of the sky with no effort from you. I'm promising you this. If you commit to these 3 actions every single day for 30 days, you will not be the same person at the end. Your capacity will expand, your faith will solidify, and the doors that were closed will start to crack open. Not because you manipulated God, because you finally became the kind of person who can handle what you've been asking for. Now here's the question you need to answer right now. Are you going to do this or not? Not, I'll think about it. Not, that sounds interesting. Not, maybe I'll try it when things calm down. Yes or no, because half-hearted commitment produces half-hearted results. And you don't have time for half-hearted anymore. You've been stuck long enough. You've been praying the same prayers long. Enough. You've been waiting for something to change long enough. It's time to stop being a beggar and become a builder. It's time to stop asking God to change your circumstances and start asking God to change you into someone who can carry the weight of the blessing. If you're ready to commit to these 3 actions for the next 30 days, type in the comments, "I'm building my container." Let's get it on record. Let's create accountability. And if you need prayer right now, if you're in a hard place and you need heaven to move, drop your name in the comments. We pray for each other here. That's what this community does. Here's what I want you to understand before we close. The blessing you're praying for is not far away. It's not on the other side of the country. It's not locked behind some impossible door. It's right above your head, waiting, ready, approved. The only thing between you and the manifestation of that prayer is the strength of your container, and you control that. Not the government, not the economy, not your boss, not your circumstances. You. Every morning you declare certainty. You add strength. Every time you give first, you clear blockages. Every time you take action, you prove you're ready. And heaven is watching, measuring, waiting for the moment when your container is finally strong enough. And when that moment comes, when the foundation is solid and the walls are reinforced and the cracks are sealed, heaven will pour. Not a trickle, a flood. Not just enough to get by. Overflow, not just for you, for everyone connected to you. Because that's how this works. When your container expands, you don't just receive for yourself. You become a distribution center for everyone in your circle, your family, your community, the people God has assigned to your life. They all benefit when you finally get this right. So this is not just about you. This is about everyone who's waiting for you to step into your full capacity. Stop playing small. Stop waiting. 4 perfect conditions. Stop letting fear talk you out of what you know you're supposed to do. Build your container. Do the work. Trust the process. And watch what heaven does when you finally become the kind of person who can hold what's been prepared. If this message is shifting something in you, if you're finally seeing what's been blocking your breakthrough, do me a favor and subscribe to this channel. Hit that button. Be part of this community, because we're going deeper every single week. We're unpacking the laws that most people never learn, the mechanics of how heaven operates, the protocols that turn prayers into manifestations. You don't want to miss what's coming next. Now let me leave you with this. In the next video, I'm going to show you the one mistake that's making your prayers bounce back. Not get ignored, not get delayed, bounce back, like you're sending an email to the wrong address and it's returning to sender. Most people are doing this and they have no idea. They think they're praying correctly. They think they're doing everything right, but there's one critical element missing that's causing every prayer to hit a wall and come right back to them. And when you fix this one thing, everything changes. I'll see you there. For now, go build your container. Start tomorrow morning. Declare certainty. Give first. Take action. Do it for 30 days without negotiating, and watch what happens. May the one who provides see your commitment and respond with provision. That exceeds what you've been praying for. May your container expand to hold not just enough but overflow. May you become a channel of blessing for everyone connected to your life. Shalom, my friend. Until next time.